Liam Fitzgerald had spent 7 blissful years perfecting the art of professional invisibility. At 32, he had achieved what he considered the pinnacle of human accomplishment, being magnificently, gloriously average. His beige cubicle at Pinnacle Industries was strategically positioned in the exact middle of the office floor, close enough to the coffee machine to maintain adequate caffeine levels, far enough from management to avoid accidental eye contact, and precisely equidistant from both the entrance and the bathrooms to ensure optimal obscurity. His daily routine was a masterpiece of calculated mediocrity. He arrived at 9:01 a.m., fashionably late enough to avoid the eager beaver crowd, but not late enough to attract disciplinary attention. Processed data with the steady rhythm of a metronome, took exactly 47 minutes for lunch, long enough to actually eat, short enough to avoid conversation, and departed at 4:59 p.m. on the dot. His desk contained exactly 3 personal items: a wilted spider plant named Gerald, a coffee mug that read "World's Okayest Employee," and a small photo of his cat, Mr. Whiskers, who shared his philosophy that naps were humanity's greatest invention. It was a beautiful, predictable, wonderfully unremarkable existence. Then Denny Kalowski had to go and ruin everything. "Liam!" Denny burst into his cubicle, like an overly caffeinated tornado. As head of operations, Denny had the unfortunate habit of making eye contact and remembering people's names. "Just the man I wanted to see." Liam's stomach dropped. Nothing good ever came from being the man someone wanted to see. "I'm promoting you to regional director," Denny announced, practically vibrating with enthusiasm. "Congratulations." "But," Liam started. "Corner office, company car, expense account." "I don't. You start Monday." And just like that, Liam's quiet life imploded. Monday morning found Liam sitting in an office that was approximately the size of his entire apartment, staring at a mahogany desk that probably cost more than his annual salary used to be. His assistant, Fair Martinez, knocked and entered with a stack of papers that reached her chin. "Good morning, Mr. Fitzgerald. Here are the quarterly reports you need to review, the budget proposals for next year, and the strategic planning documents for the Henderson merger." Liam looked at the papers as if they were written in ancient Sumerian. He had spent 5 blissful years in data entry, where his biggest decision was whether to use Arial or Times New Roman. "Right," he said weakly. "Strategic planning." Fair smiled encouragingly. "Also, you have a board meeting at 2 p.m. After she left, Liam put his head in his hands. There was only one solution. He had to get himself fired. But how? Liam's first plan was brilliantly simple. He would create the most boring, incomprehensible presentation in corporate history. He spent all weekend crafting 247 slides titled "Synergistic Optimization of Cross-Platform Deliverables in a Paradigm-Shifting Ecosystem." Each slide contained exactly 1 sentence in 8-point font on a beige background. Slide 73 was just the word "therefore," followed by 17 periods. Slide 144 was entirely devoted to a pie chart showing different shades of gray, labeled Grayness Distribution Analysis. On Monday, Liam stood before the board with the confidence of a man about to commit professional suicide. "Ladies and gentlemen," he began, "I present to you the future." What Liam didn't know was that 3 board members had fallen asleep during the previous quarterly presentation about actual profits. What he also didn't know was that paradigm-shifting ecosystem was the exact buzzword their biggest client had used the week before. "Brilliant," exclaimed CEO Margaret Thornfield after Liam's 2-hour presentation. "This is exactly the kind of innovative thinking we need. Johnson, make sure all departments implement this new paradigm immediately." "But it doesn't actually mean anything," Liam protested. "Modesty. I love that in an executive. Denny, give this man a raise." Desperate times called for desperate measures. Liam decided to sabotage the office coffee machine during the monthly client visit. Without caffeine, surely the entire meeting would be a disaster, and everyone would blame him. He spent his lunch break carefully loosening pipes and adjusting settings until the machine would only produce a mysterious brown liquid that looked like liquid disappointment and smelled like regret. The Japanese clients arrived precisely at 2 p.m. Liam watched in grim satisfaction as Fair attempted to serve coffee and instead dispensed what appeared to be caffeinated swamp water. "I'm so sorry," Liam said, trying to look incompetent. "Our coffee machine seems to be malfunctioning." The lead client, Mr. Tanaka, took a sip and his eyes widened. He turned to his colleague and spoke rapidly in Japanese. Then he grabbed Liam's hands. "This is wonderful," he exclaimed in accented English. "This tastes exactly like my grandmother's special tea blend from Kyoto. How did you know about our company's traditional beverage? This shows such respect for our culture." By the end of the meeting, Pinnacle Industries had secured their largest contract ever. The coffee machine was permanently adjusted to produce Tanaka's grandmother's revenge, which became a signature offering in their corporate cafeteria. "Liam," Denny said, slapping him on the back, "you're a genius. How did you know that Mr. Tanaka's family had a tea plantation?" "Oh, lucky guess," Liam squeaked. Liam's next plan was foolproof. He would send an accidentally honest, company-wide email that would surely get him fired for insubordination. He crafted his masterpiece. Subject: the truth about our Q3 performance. "Dear everyone, I have no idea what I'm doing. Our success this quarter appears to be entirely accidental. I've been trying to get fired for weeks, but apparently I'm too incompetent to even fail properly. I'm supposed to understand market penetration and vertical integration, but honestly, I think our CEO just makes up these terms. Our biggest achievement this year was fixing a coffee machine by breaking it worse. In conclusion, I am a fraud, and you should probably fire me before I accidentally become president of the company. Sincerely confused, Liam Fitzgerald, Regional Director, somehow. He hit send and waited for security to escort him out. Instead, his phone rang immediately. "Liam, it was Margaret Thornfield, and she was laughing." That email was the best piece of corporate communication I've seen in 20 years. Such refreshing honesty, such clever self-deprecation. The board is absolutely delighted by your innovative transparency approach. "My what now? We're implementing Radical Honesty Mondays, company-wide. And Liam, we're making you vice president." At his wit's end, Liam decided to give a presentation while obviously drunk. He spent his lunch hour at O'Malley's pub, downing whiskey sours until the world seemed delightfully fuzzy around the edges. He stumbled into the afternoon meeting with potential investors, hiccuping slightly and swaying just enough to make his PowerPoint slides blur together in interesting ways. "Ladies and gentlemen," he slurred, "I'm here to talk about, what are we selling again? Oh right, widgets. We sell the best damn widgets in the place where widgets are sold." He clicked to his first slide, which he had intended to be a graph, but in his inebriated state, he had accidentally uploaded a photo of his cat, Mr. Whiskers, wearing a tiny business suit. "This," he announced solemnly, "is our target demographic." The investors erupted in laughter. "This is our projected growth," he continued, advancing to a slide that was actually his grocery list, which he read with the passion of a Shakespearean actor. "Milk, 2%. Bread, whole grain. Bananas, the yellow ones." One investor was wiping tears from her eyes. "This is the most creative market analysis I've ever seen. The metaphorical representation of consumer staples as business fundamentals is pure genius." Another investor nodded enthusiastically, and using a cat in business attire to represent the everyday consumer, revolutionary. By the end of his presentation, Pinnacle Industries had secured $50 million in funding. Liam was promoted to senior vice president and given a signing bonus that was larger than his previous 5-year salary combined. Liam had had enough. He would write a resignation letter so offensive, so unprofessional, that they would have no choice but to fire him and possibly press charges. To whom it may concern, which is apparently no one, "I quit. This company is run by lunatics who mistake incompetence for innovation. You people wouldn't recognize actual business acumen if it filed a quarterly report and did a PowerPoint dance. I am resigning effective immediately to pursue my lifelong dream of becoming a professional cat groomer in Vermont. P.S. The coffee machine is still broken. I've been faking every presentation, and I once approved a $1 million budget because I thought it was a lunch order. P.P.S. Margaret, your haircut makes you look like a deranged poodle. Go forth and fail. Liam Fitzgerald, Senior Vice President of Accidentally Being Good at Stuff I Hate." He printed the letter, marched to Margaret's office, and slapped it on her desk. Margaret read it slowly, her expression unreadable. Then she looked up at Liam with tears in her eyes. "This is it," she whispered. Finally, Liam sighed in relief. "This is the most brilliant exit strategy I've ever seen. You're not resigning. You're pioneering a new form of corporate leadership. The reverse psychology management style. Liam, we're promoting you to CEO. What? Think about it. By pretending to be incompetent, you've motivated everyone to work harder to compensate. By accidentally succeeding, You've shown us that traditional business models are outdated. You're not leaving, you're ascending. 6 months later, CEO Liam Fitzgerald sat in his penthouse office, which took up the entire top floor of the Pinnacle Industries building. His salary was now 7 figures. He had a personal chef, a driver, and 3 assistants, including Fair, who had been promoted to executive assistant to the CEO. "Sir," Fair said, entering with a cup of coffee that probably cost more than most people's monthly rent. "The Wall Street Journal wants to interview you about your revolutionary incompetence-based leadership philosophy." "Can't I just hide in the supply closet until they go away?" "I'm afraid not, sir. Also, Harvard Business School wants you to give the commencement address. They're calling you the prophet of professional paradox." Liam stared out the window at the city below. Somewhere out there, people were living quiet, simple lives with reasonable responsibilities and normal-sized paychecks. People who could eat lunch without it becoming a networking opportunity. People whose biggest decision was whether to have a second cup of coffee, not whether to acquire another subsidiary. His phone buzzed with a text from Denny. "Liam, great news. The board wants to discuss your promotion to chairman. Dinner tonight at Le Bernardin." Liam put his head down on his imported Italian marble desk and whimpered. Just then, his computer pinged with an email. It was from a small data entry company in Vermont. "Position available. Quiet data entry specialist. No management responsibilities, no meetings. Just you, a computer, and the peaceful sound of typing. Salary, $35,000 a year. Cats welcome in office." For the first time in months, Liam smiled. He looked at Fair, who was waiting patiently with a stack of documents that needed his signature. "Fair," he said slowly. "How do you think the board would react? Is their CEO just disappeared? Knowing this company, sir, they'd probably make you emperor." Liam grabbed his coat and headed for the door. "Then it's a good thing I've learned how to fail at succeeding." As he walked past the reception desk, he could hear Margaret on the phone. "Yes, Harvard. His sudden mysterious departure is clearly another brilliant strategic move. We should study this. Maybe we should all disappear." Liam stepped into the elevator and pressed the button for the ground floor, finally heading toward the quiet, unremarkable life he'd been accidentally promoted away from. Behind him, he could hear the faint sound of his former colleagues planning to implement strategic disappearance protocols company-wide. Some people, he thought as the elevator descended, are just too incompetent to fail properly, and sometimes that's exactly what makes them perfect for the job they're trying to escape.